Operations with functions. So now that we've talked about all these different functions, what happens if they mix together? So today I'm going to focus on adding, subtracting, and multiplying. Okay? What happens if you combine these functions using operations like addition, subtraction, and multiplication? So I have here a quadratic, a linear, and an exponential. Okay? So let's start when we see this. When you see this, the letter is associated to the different functions. So here's G, here's H, and here's F. So when you see this, they're telling you to take the F function and add the G function. Now generally they'll put it in parentheses like that, and you add them up. Now you have to remember to combine like terms. So for example, when we did these before, I would tell you to stack them. So what term matches with the X here? 2 and 3. So I would put 3 and 2 together. What about the 5 with the negative 3? There is no x squared, so guess what? Your answer stays an x squared. But now you have 5x, and the x's don't change because you're combining like terms, minus 8. So you took a linear and a quadratic, and you end up with a quadratic. And this is the new function right here. So you're just basically combining like terms. But just be careful, that was adding. If this was subtracting, here's how it would go instead. When you're subtracting, the second term is going to have to change signs. Because what we're doing is, we're not adding a 3x, we're now subtracting 3x. And we're not taking just a minus 5, we are subtracting a negative. But when you subtract a negative, you're actually adding. So now these are your terms. So when you match these up, you're going to get a completely different answer. Again, there was no x squared, so x squared stays the same. 2x minus 3x, that's a negative 1x. And negative 3 plus 5 plus 2. And that's the answer if you subtract them. All right. Now, what if we multiply? Well, guys, multiplying can get tricky. What I recommend you do is you draw an area model. If you're going to multiply these functions, I would take 3x and negative 5 and make an area model with it. Now this is longer than your normal area model because you're multiplying it times f, which has 3 terms. So we're taking the two functions and we're going to multiply them together. Now here we're not matching. This is not like terms. What we're first doing is just multiplying them all together. So 3x times x squared is 3x cubed. Negative 5x times x squared is negative 5x squared. And it just keeps going. 3x times 2x is 6x squared. Negative 5 times 2x is negative 10x. 3x times negative 3 is negative 9x. And negative 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. Now, we see a lot of terms in there. And this is when we do like terms. This is before we are done, we got to combine our like terms. We got to put these together. There shouldn't be 2x squareds and 2x's in our answer. There should only be 1. So, starting in order, put the biggest term first. 3x cubed. That's my first term. What about your x squareds? Well, I got a negative 5x and a 6x squared. That's going to make it just 1x squared. I got a negative 10x and a negative 9x. If I put those together, I get negative 19x. And there's only one single term, minus 15. And guys, this is the answer. So when you're multiplying it, I highly recommend area models, okay? Now, what if it's like this? What if you have g of x, which was 3x minus 5. And let me separate this so I don't get it confused. This was a lot of work here. All right, here we go. 3x minus 5 plus h, which is my exponential, to the x. Okay, Well, these are not like terms. I know they both have x's, but this is not a 2x. This is 2 to the x power. It cannot add to anything else like this unless there's another 2 to the x power. So guys, there's nothing to combine. Your answer should be this. That's it. That's the answer. All right, let's do one more subtraction. And I hope you can tell what's going to happen here, because what we have here is 2 to the x minus 3x minus 5. Now, I know they're not going to subtract, but you don't leave it this way. Again, you have a negative sign. You're subtracting this. That's going to change this to a 3x. That's going to change it to a negative minus 5, which becomes positive 5. So your answer looks like this. Not the same, because you're subtracting them. You're subtracting them. You're not going to get the same answer. Okay? And yeah, guys, that's basically it. So when you're doing it, just make sure you know what operation you're doing and which terms will be able to combine and which ones won't be able to combine. That's very important.